Hi guys, it's Jimmy from the podcast. Here's a highlight from a recent episode.
You're a good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are.
This week, I sat down with songwriter, worship leader, and artist Pat Barrett. At some point along the way, you and Tony Brown wrote a little ditty called Good Father. And it kind of changed the trajectory of both of you, of your lives, and also of, obviously, even of Housefires. And the thing just kind of exploded out because even, of course, Chris Tomlin recorded the song, and it was a radio #1 and song of the year for BMI, and won a Dove Award and all these different things. But at the same time, it was also like really propelling you guys forward. From an artist standpoint, but also just from songwriters as well. Talk about that a little bit, about just that. I don't know that there's a story like that, or they don't come on very often. It's really exciting to see a song that it kind of emerges, and it really obviously transforms the church. It was a huge song for Chris, and I remember even like some of the label guys talking about, it kind of opened up new audiences for Chris and his artistry because of the nature of the song. But just talk a little bit about that song and maybe how you guys worked on the song and wrote on the songs, but also just kind of the impact that song has had on you guys.
Yeah, number one, we were just so surprised. We were so surprised at the stories that we've heard of people connecting with it, and for us, it's really like that word father is such it's a big one, and because it's such an experiential word, like we have an experience with someone who held that title in our normal lives or didn't, and what we started to feel as we'd sing that song, like it was like healing. It was so healing to sing it in ways that you can't really quantify. For me, like that's what I experienced when I'd sing it and sing it around the house. I'd sing it with the kids, and even in writing it, the origins of the chorus started in a house church setting, and so there's even like a spontaneity to it that it's not calculated. It's more expressive and connection oriented. Like this is what needed to be sung at the time. And, when the verses came along, it was really over the past, 5 years, like I'm a dad now, so we just had baby number 3, so I haven't slept in 5 weeks. So who knows how many edits will have to go into this podcast because my filter's gone. But I remember at that time experiencing this role change for myself. Like I'm now a father, and I'm rethinking I'm looking back on my relationship with my dad and the things he taught me growing up, and I'm relating to God in that way, and through fresh eyes, because I've never had the experience of being a dad. I'm going through all those things, and simultaneously I'm leading worship every single weekend at events, and I go through a little bit of it wasn't a crisis, but it was a reevaluating, because I'd played all these events and it was so powerful, like amazing, anointed, like wonderful events in different denominations of the church, which has always been like a beautiful part of my story. It's never just been in one denomination, but there would always, when you trace theology down to its foundation, it's really about like, what do you believe God is like? And I know it's been that way for me. Unhealthy, toxic images of God create an unhealthy and unhelpful theology that totally colors the way we see the world, the way we see each other, the way you see yourself, like all that stuff. So that line, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like was written in tears, because I'm trying to figure out like if everyone's saying something slightly different, and I'm trying to like introduce this amazing fatherly spiritual relationship that I have with God to my kids as well. And there was a spinning that happened for me, and that song really feel like it helped give me an anchor to express the things that I knew were most true. And after that, like once the song was out, I mean, just the way it spread so quickly without like it wasn't like a plan. It was like, oh, this is the plan. This is how you get the song out. It was just like, whoa, the way it connected with people. It was so surprising. And at the same time, it was like, oh, but I felt that when I sang it too. Yeah. It did something to me. So and those are the songs you're most excited to share, where you're like, guys, I don't know if this is helpful the way it was to me, but this really hit me in a special way, and you're more excited to share those things anyway. Yeah. So,
and I think it's a song. I think a lot of the broad appeal of the song is it means different things depending on whether you grew up in the church or whether you didn't grow up in the church.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of times, if you didn't grow up in the church, maybe all that you had seen about God was maybe these not so helpful, portrayals of Christians or portrayals of the church that seemed, legalistic or judgmental and all those things. And it was sort of like this stiff arm away from God, And so I feel like the song it helped to break those walls down a little bit for those that were outside the church. All of a sudden to hear is like, He's a good father.
Right.
He actually wants you to come close, which is a really powerful message. And I think for those in the church, it was a healing song in a lot of ways, because for those of us that's grown up in the church, and if you spent, any time in the church growing up, there's always good and bad experiences, but along the way you do pick up baggage and things that were hurtful, and you pick up theology, I think, that's not necessarily Bible theology, but it's just kind of implied along the way.
Right.
It becomes a part of, like you're saying, becomes a part of sort of who we are as believers. And this song, in some ways, to me, for the church, was like a reset. It was a way to say, all right, wait, let's step back and let's look at really the full nature of God in Scripture, and how it talks about Him. And man, it impacted such a broad spectrum, and I think it's just one of those special songs that comes along that really it really is kind of a reset for the church, and it gives kind of this fresh kind of perspective of who God is, which in that I love. I felt the reset personally. It helped, which I don't know if now, like this stage of my life, if that's I'm as powerfully impacted of what I'm unlearning about God as what I'm learning about Him. And you go through like just life circumstances where you get the opportunity to like reevaluate things and not just assume things. And I think that's just a healthy part of life anyways. To just go like, hey, are we, the way I'm thinking and seeing and the way I'm, my worldview right now, is this like a good one? Is this a healthy thing? Is this grounded in like a good place, or a place that needs to be re-examined again? And I just think that's a great, I felt that. That's a great way to say it. Like I felt the reset, an opportunity to reset that.
Yeah. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.
You can listen to this full interview and all of our Worship Together podcast episodes on Apple Podcast and everywhere podcasts are found.